Alright guys, it's time for the 1700 subscriber special. Again, even though we're now closer to 2500. Yeah, I lost a whole lot of time during the move. But thank you everyone who has been finding me and discovering me and sticking with me and hanging out with me and putting up with some of the weirder videos I've put out. Admittedly, I do not know how that Transformers Day video is gonna go. It's gonna be posted tomorrow, but we'll see. In any case, thank you guys so much for just, talking Transformers with me. This has honestly been some of the best months of my life, just looking forward to a video going up and seeing what people think, seeing what people knew the toy or wanted the toy or didn't like the toy. It's been good conversation. But now it's time to talk about Skywarp. We've already done my top 10 Starscreams and my top 10 Thundercrackers. Skywarp is actually my second favorite Seeker. He's right below Thundercracker, but I have the least toys of him. Thundercracker is my favorite Transformer, so I go out of my way to get Thundercrackers. Starscream just has more toys in general, so I have more toys of him, even though most of them are kind of smaller figures. Skywarp is in that weird middle spot. The reason I get Skywarps is if I really like a Thundercracker, I want a Skywarp to go with them. The only figure I actually have where I have the Skywarp version and not the Thundercracker would be the Kingdom Core class, and also my Cyberverse guy right here. I don't have the Thundercracker from that 4-pack anymore. Even still, I love Skywarp, I love his relationship with Thundercracker, and I love his color scheme, even though we apparently can't decide what shade of purple he is. In any case, guys, let's start looking at the top 10 Skywarps in my collection. The rules are they have to be Skywarp, they can't be a mold that shares Skywarp, and also they have to be owned by me. So there's a lot of good Skywarps out there that I just don't have in my collection, and thus they don't count. But these guys are some of my favorite toys in my entire collection, even if, for the most part, it's just because I like posing them next to Thundercracker. At number 10 is the Cyberverse Warrior class Skywarp. There's a couple things that hold her back. For one, the mold I like a lot, but all translucent purple, I'm really scared to touch her most of the time, even though I do really like the color scheme. Alongside that, I've lost the guns, but they weren't all that great. And also, this is just a little too far away from the traditional Skywarp color scheme. There's literally no black here, it's all purple, and then red is the tertiary color, that or the green. And that way, it's actually a little bit more like Slipstream, or maybe just a generic Seeker in general. The reasons it's here is because, one, the mold is really, really good, the transformation's great. I love the Cyberverse Tetrajet design. I think the robot mode is really striking in its proportions. And also, I just like Cyberverse, the fact that this is the first female Skywarp, something that we would see later on again in Earthspark, and it's a way to just make Skywarp a little bit more different from Thundercracker and Starscream. Starscream's one of the big four, Thundercracker is still trading on his IDW prestige. Skywarp has had a hard time sticking out for these last few years, but thankfully they're starting to find more and more of a niche for themselves as a character, and I think this was one of those early building blocks of it. For those reasons, Skywarp's on the list, even though I'm very scared to touch her a lot of the time. At number 9, it is the Robot Heroes Skywarp, non-transforming PVC figure. This would have been released back in the Universe days. I loved Robot Heroes. I would have never had this one growing up, but having it now as an adult, I think it's just the absolute cutest Skywarp around. And I would love to get a full set of Robot Heroes, at least the G1 designs, because, generally speaking, they're some of the best minifigures we've ever had in Transformers. At number 8, it is the thrilling 30 War for Cybertron Skywarp. I like the design well enough, and keep in mind, this mold is my favorite Thundercracker of all time. Only issue with Skywarp is I don't think the colors work as well here. There's both too much purple in the lower body and not enough in the upper body. I think maybe you could have had a purple stripe there and maybe turn the legs a little bit more gray. Alongside that, I don't know. The colors I think just don't work. The purple I think is just a little bit off kilter. It's not bright enough nor dark enough. But that said, the US version is infinitely better than the Japanese version, where that's just a purple monstrosity. It's still a great figure, but I think this is a great way to show that just because I really like a Thundercracker doesn't mean that I like his corresponding Skywarp just as much, or vice versa. Skywarp is a unique bot, and even though they might share molds, I have different feelings about different versions of them. At number 7, it is the Studio Series Bumblebee Movie Skywarp. You know, I was kind of down on this guy's color scheme in my review, but it has really grown on me, to the point where now I actually think it's a better color scheme than Thundercracker. Alongside that, the figure does just feel better, the joints are a bit tighter, the vehicle mode looks a little bit better, even though I'm still not big on the Bumblebee movie version of the Tetrajet. I like the accessories here. I love just the secret design in general from the Bumblebee movie and how monstrous they look. These guys look like Frankenstein's monster with a jetpack. They're all just so much fun to put into these weird hunched poses and have around Shockwave like they're menacing bodyguards. That is all to say, I've gotten to a point now where I think Skywarp is the best version of this mold, even though I was really poo-pooing it for a long time. Just because it's not a traditional Skywarp color scheme doesn't mean that it's not one of my favorite Skywarps now, and it goes to show that sometimes you just need to have a toy in hand to really see what it's worth. At number 6, it is the Walmart exclusive Transformers the Movie G1 reissue of Skywarp. This is the G1 Skywarp mold, repainted and resculpted to look a little bit more cartoon accurate. It is the only G1 style Skywarp I have, and I like it. I actually like it a lot more than Thundercracker. I really love how they captured the lilac purple of the cartoon design, and I think overall this is one of the better meshings of cartoon and toy, because especially a lot of those 84 guys, they look so different that it's actually kind of jarring to see cartoon elements on the G1 toys. Skywarp is able to pull it off because at the end of the day, the color scheme really does conceal a lot of this guy. At number 5, it's the Legacy Core Class Skywarp, for my money, the best mini Skywarp we've ever had. He has one of my favorite deco layouts of any Skywarp, which is to say, black, silver, and purple is just on the arms and feet, which is what it's supposed to be. The proportions are great, the jet mode is just the best. The transformation to get there is one of the best transformations on any mini Seeker, especially from Hasbro. This was a standout of the core class. I love the Starscream, I love the Thundercracker, but Skywarp is going to be the top dog for me. I think he wears the mold the best, and look at him standing all smug. I think he knows that he's pretty. At number 4, it's Alterity Skywarp. I could gush for days about Alterity Thundercracker, and Skywarp on paper should be exactly the same. They've changed the finish and changed the color, but all the beautiful sculpting is still here, and even though they changed it, they've gone a completely different direction. Whereas Thundercracker was a matte electric blue, this is a glossy violet. A beautiful, beautiful, beautiful paint scheme, one of the best paint jobs on any Transformer ever. My issue is Skywarp is very loose in a lot of his joints, he's tight in other places, and paint stuck was a major issue here. Transforming him was a bit of a nail-biting experience where a lot of joints got stressed just because paint had dried inside and made it hard to actually move them around. I still think this is one of the best Skywarps ever. I think him standing next to Thundercracker is the single best looking Transformers display I have ever put together. At the same time, I do have to acknowledge he's not a great experience on his own, and the quality control really is a shame, because this could have been and perhaps should have been the best Skywarp of all time, and he just cannot match the lofty heights of Thundercracker due to those quality control issues. But seriously, look at these two together and tell me that is not a centerpiece of any collection. I adore this pair. They are the heart of my collection going forward. I honestly think that they're so good looking I could give them a shelf all by themselves. And I'm so thankful to the friend that reached out and let me purchase this Skywarp from them. It is such a highlight of my collecting. It's honestly the happiest I've ever been with a purchase when it comes to just getting another toy I have in a different paint scheme. This might be my favorite repaint of all time. I just wish he played a little bit better. At number 3, it's Earthrise Skywarp. He was in a 2-pack with Thundercracker. Earthrise Thundercracker, by the way, he was pulling up the back end of his list. He was near the bottom. This Skywarp is in my top 3, the bronze medalist, because I just think he looks better. The Skywarp color scheme always works, and they got it perfect here. Yes, they added purple to the shoulders. I think that looks fine, though. And I love the screaming face because it looks like he might be laughing, it looks like he's angry, he could be in pain. It gives him a little bit of personality compared to Thundercracker and Starscream that look exactly the same in the face. I love the details here, like the vents in his chest. I love the silver throughout his torso. The paint layout is just the best. The jet mode on the Earthrise Seeker is second to none. It is probably my favorite mainline Skywarp ever in terms of just having a display piece and a transformation experience. It goes to show how much a new head and a coat of paint can change a figure for you. Going from an okay Thundercracker to a masterful Skywarp. Living and breathing the idea that a new paint scheme can make any toy better, it is the Make Toy Skycrow, my personal favorite version of a masterpiece Skywarp. And whereas the Make Toys Lightning was fine, and I had some issues with it, and the Make Toys Slipswarm, their version of Slipstream, was, well, a bit rickety, Skycrow, to me, shows the beauty of this mold. A good transformation when the joints all work. Tolerances on Skycrow are all spectacular. I love the paint, I love the sculpt, I love the design, I love the face options. This, to me, is the best a Masterpiece Seeker has ever felt. It's insane to me that characters sharing this mold, like Slipswarm and Lightning, Slipstream and Thundercracker, don't feel as good to me as Skycrow does, and that all comes to tolerances and quality control and a lot of those X factors of a toy. But what it results in is my second favorite Skywarp of all time. The highest ranking masterpiece of any of these lists that we've done, aside from the prototype Azalea that took #1 in my RC list. I love this Skywarp. I think on an objective level, it's the best Skywarp in my collection, but kind of like the Thundercracker video, there's someone who's going to be #1 just because of what they mean to me. At #1, it had to be Classic Skywarp. I know people complain about this deco and how bright the purple is. This is the best Skywarp has ever looked in terms of a color scheme to me. A little bit more purple, but they still have enough black and silver to make it feel right and make him feel stealthy, and I do really like the magenta they went for. Alongside that, this is my childhood Skywarp. Well, not this one in particular, this is a replacement figure, but the classic Skywarp I had as a kid was my childhood Skywarp. I got that toy before I even knew who Skywarp was or had seen him in the G1 cartoon. I had Classic Starscream, and then for Christmas one year, I got Classics Optimus and Classic Skywarp. They were second-hand gifts, so I didn't get boxes with them. I knew who Optimus was, but I didn't know who Skywarp was. And as a result, because I was a stupid kid and I saw these colors, I thought Skywarp was a girl. And I paired him up with Starscream, and I was like, oh, this is Starscream's girlfriend. And then I had this idea that, like, she was, like, more sneaky, and it kind of actually worked. When I found out that Skywarp is supposed to be the teleporting stealth jet, it was really cool to learn about Skywarp going on. And I've never really lost my love for this toy. The transformation is still spectacular. This is the ground zero of every Seeker transformation to come after it, at least G1 style. Masterpiece alikes, Generations redos, they all go back and just innovate on this transformation. The proportions are great, the articulation was rough for its day, but that doesn't change the fact that the classic Seeker mold was one of, if not the single most important mold of the year 2006, and one of the most used and well-loved molds in all of Transformers history. If you're a Transformers fan of a certain age, you have almost certainly had this mold in your collection at some point, or you might have it in your collection right now. It was so good that I think the final count was they did 36 versions of this mold, and that's different characters, different variations of the same characters. It speaks to how beloved this mold and this body is, though, that Hasbro and Takara were able to use it that many times and still get people to pay for it. But it never looked better than this to me. It never, ever looked better than classic Skywarp. I love this guy so much. Unfortunately, he is very similar to 2007 movie Cliffjumper. Character that meant a lot to me, and toy that meant a lot to me. Lost when I was going through a not-so-good time in my life. The fun thing about Skywarp, he fell into a river alongside a bag that had some food in it, And I went in for the bag, more for the food than for Skywarp, but I didn't get either one of them, so, that was fun. No dinner that night, and also Skywarp was lost. So, there is a bad memory connected with Skywarp. But then there's also the great memory of finding this Skywarp in Planet Fun, and being reunited with him, and bringing him home, and just having him in my life again. There's something to be said about the childhood toys that don't make it out of childhood, but that you're able to reconnect with as an adult, and they're still just as great as they were when you lost them. I love my Skywarp. This is my favorite Skywarp. It will always be my favorite Skywarp. I love the Classics mold, and I can tell you the academic reasons as to why this Skywarp is very impressive, and in fact I did. But that doesn't change the fact that the reason this guy's #1 is because he was there. But then when he was lost, the collection just never felt whole. It never felt right. But having him back, even all these years later, it just feels a little bit better knowing that I have Skywarp back. Getting my 3 favorite Skywarps back in for the final shot, I will say I don't have as many of him as I do of Thundercracker or Starscream. Skywarp isn't as beloved by me as I love Thundercracker, but he's still basically one of my favorite Decepticons. He's probably my top 10 favorite Transformer characters. And even if a lot of that is just because I like how he looks and how he interacts with Thundercracker, that doesn't change the fact that Skywarp, specifically that one in the middle, does mean a lot to me. And I'm happy that I've been able to get a lot of nice Skywarps in my collection, pair them up with some Thundercrackers, or just have them looking good by themselves. At the end of the day, it's just kind of cool to be able to have so many of the 3 main Seekers. I will tell you guys, I'm running out of characters I actually have 10 of, so it probably won't be too much longer before we go down to maybe a top 5 type of list. But in any case, we're going to keep doing videos like this to celebrate the 100 milestones. But at the end of the day, this was just a video to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for watching the stuff, and, you know, hopefully you like Skywarp. Which is your favorite Skywarp? Like, is it one of the ones I showed? Is it one I don't own? There have been a lot of them, so I'm sure that you could probably have a Skywarp out there that you love that I've maybe never even heard of. But in any case, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we will see what we get up to next time.